News Radio 1040 WHO. Up next, we're going to talk about French fries, one of my favorite subjects. I absolutely love French fries, and who in the world would think about writing a book on French fries? Dave Groulich would. He's the author of the French Fry Companion and also a couple of other books, the Hamburger Companion, the Hot Dog Companion. And fries are the second most eaten food in America. Dave, welcome to WHO Radio.
Great to be here, thanks.
This is one of those subjects everybody loves to talk about. We all love our French fries, even though some of us don't want to admit it. So why did you put together a book on it?
Well, I've always been fascinated by the little mundane things that helps our day-to-day life flow, like the zipper or the pencil or the fly swatter. And one day I was out sitting and eating French fries, and I said, my goodness, this is an amazing little product I'm holding in my hand, and I was crazy enough to go ahead and write a book about it.
So what are some of the things you found out? For instance, are they really French?
Well, it turns out no. With many of our foods, it becomes a misnomer, like French toast and things like that. The adjective French actually goes back to an early cooking method which described the slicing method that you would apply to the potato. You would French the potato, so it's really a verb and has nothing to do with the country.
So when we say French fry, we're describing the way it's cut, the thin slices.
That's right.
We're not referring to France. Yeah.
There's a tenuous connection with the country of France, but the historians believe that the French fry regards as the slicing method.
But you did say that in the history of French fries, there was a very important French person who was involved in the overall development of potatoes or something.
Well, yes, that actually goes back to the history of the potato, which is in itself a pretty amazing social and culinary history. And Marie Antoinette, of all people, and her husband, the King of France, were involved with popularizing the potato. Of course, their careers took an unexpected downturn quite suddenly. Well, if Marie had merely said, let them eat fries, European history would have been dramatically different.
And that'll be McDonald's next ad campaign, I bet.
I bet.
We always hear the rumor that Thomas Jefferson brought the French fry to America. Is that true?
Well, unfortunately, that's not true. It's a delightful legend that the great Mr. Jefferson brought these potatoes back with him from France. As I ponder in the book, perhaps someday DNA tests will provide the ultimate genetic evidence as to whether he's the father of the French fry, but I don't believe he is.
So who do you say created the French fry? Where did the idea come from?
Well, there are a lot of theories. One is that it was actually a derivation of the potato chip that a chef in Saratoga Springs, New York, was slicing the potatoes very thin and frying them and serving them up, and that the potato chip and the French fry are sort of first cousins. There are a number of other theories that immigrants from Northern Europe brought them over, and immigrants from the Low Countries of Holland and Belgium.
But now I think you say in the book that the modern history of the French fry is one that it really didn't start to take hold across America until the russet potato was invented.
Yeah, well, it was the development of the long rectangular potato. It's what most of us think of when we go to the grocery store and we sort of see that generic potato, which is known as the russet. And it turned out that their long rectangular shape made them perfect for slicing.
Who came up with the russet?
Actually, it was Luther Burbank, the very famous agriculturalist.
So Burbank, California is named after the man who came up with russet potatoes.
Well, yes, in honor of his achievements, a suburb of Los Angeles was named after him.
And then that's the potato that McDonald's has used over the years, and McDonald's really is the thing that you say made French fries popular. There were French fries, obviously, before McDonald's, but McDonald's took it to a new level.
Well, that's right, and it's really an amazing entrepreneurial story that I talk about in the book. And, we often think of American business and entrepreneurism in terms of the big things like the Internet or the space satellites or, the amazing products that we all see. But, the story of how McDonald's and J.R. Simplot and some other innovators developed the French fry, it's a great entrepreneurial story.
And yet, Dave, French fries are usually the side dish. We usually go for the hamburger, and then we also order the French fries, and most of us will eat the French fries no matter what they taste like.
Well, that's right. I call French fries the greatest supporting act in American culinary history. I mean, they're sort of like the Sammy Sosa to the hamburger's Mark McGuire.
So how did the French fries enter into McDonald's strategy then?
Well, McDonald's was originally serving fresh hand-cut French fries. This is going back to the late 50s and early 60s. And they were fresh and hot, and people actually started going to McDonald's less for the hamburgers and more so for the French fries. The quandary was, as McDonald's wanted to expand and have hundreds and hundreds of sites, they realized that they couldn't impose that kind of quality on each place's hand-cut French fries. It was too variable. And that was the dawn of the frozen French fry era, which is a whole other tangent of French fry history.
So you said that they didn't convert to fully automated frozen French fries until 1972. And gosh, I'm thinking back going, wow, I thought I could remember that type of French fry before them, but you're essentially saying they used to be hand-cut in each location, restaurant location, and then it wasn't until 72 when everybody was uniformly using the same frozen French fry.
Yeah, I mean, those of us who are in our mid-40s, if you can remember as a kid going to McDonald's, or for that matter, any of the other fast food restaurants of that era, those were hand-cut French fries, and the store manager would go to the local grocery store and buy potatoes.
And now McDonald's uses 7% of the potatoes in the United States alone. Dave, we want to open up the phone lines here because we have 5 copies of your book to give away. And what we want to ask listeners today is, what is the unusual way that you make or eat French fries? And we want unusual. We don't just want ketchup. We don't even just want vinegar. We want something really unusual. What's an unusual way that you make or eat French fries? For instance, Dave, what kind of toppings have you heard that people put on their French fries?
Well, for example, there's a place in Philadelphia called Pat's King of Steaks that does melted cheese whiz on the French fries, and people just love the goop. It's their best-selling item.
So let's get to our phone lines. Dave, you ready?
Okay.
I want to surprise you. I want some people to tell you some things you hadn't heard.
All right.
Dave's the expert, and it's called the French Fry Companion. Let's go to John first. Hi, John.
Hi.
Tell us about your French fry love.
Well, it's probably more my wife, but she likes to eat French fries with ranch dressing on them.
Oh, yeah. Does she pour it over the top of them?
Yes.
And she doesn't dip. She literally pours it.
Yes.
And is this true, like if you go to a restaurant, will she order a little ranch dressing too?
It just depends. If there's ketchup, no, normally she prefers ranch dressing. I mean, if there's ranch dressing on the table or if it's accessible, she'll put it on.
That's interesting. Thanks, John. We're going to give you a copy of the French Fry Companion. And Dave, you've heard of that type of thing where people use dressings?
Yeah, that would be sort of a variation on the European preference for mayonnaise and vinegar.
Yeah, and you did say in the book that different parts of the world have certain preferences, right?
Yes, in fact, some French fry people say they can guess someone's nationality by the topping that they put on the French fry. For example, Latin people might ask for salsa, where a British person might ask for vinegar.
Interesting. Dave Groulich is the author of the French Fry Companion, and we have Dave, who's on the phone line. Hi, Dave.
Hey, how are you doing?
Great. Tell us about French fries.
Well, we'll take just the frozen ones and cook them on, in the oven with some Lorry salt and kind of like a Cajun pepper.
Cajun pepper.
Yeah, and put a little cheese over it, like a cheddar cheese, and have it melt over it at the very end. And then bring it out and put a little salsa and sour cream on it and actually eat it with a fork.
Whoa, that's spicy.
Yeah.
So you
That
like
sounds
them,
delicious.
You like them really hot then?
Yeah, we don't do that all the time, but just for something different here and there,
Yeah.
we'll eat it that way.
That's a good idea. Thanks a lot, Dave. We're giving you a copy of the French Fry Companion. We're looking for unusual ways that people make or eat French fries. And Dave Groulich, you say in the book that salsa and chili, those are things that are also used in certain parts of the world.
That's right. This is the perception of actually the French fry as the main course of the meal. We Americans think of it as a side dish, but some nationalities actually see it as the main food.
Really?
Yes. For example, in Canada, people will they'll make a lunch out of French fries.
That sounds good to me. But it's gotten such a bad reputation. I mean, people don't even want to admit that they eat French fries. They kind of sneak them, don't they?
Well, it's true. You use the word fry now in relation to just about anything, and it has a bad reputation. But some people, if you oven cook the fries and don't use oil, in fact, can be a very healthy and very nutritionally sound thing to eat.
Yeah. Larry, you're up next on WHO Radio. Hi, Larry.
Hi.
Okay, what's the way you like French fries?
There's only one way to eat them, and that's when they're really hot and you dip them in ice cream or a shake.
You're not serious.
I'm serious. It was gross. I saw my son do it, and actually I tried it and I loved it, and that's the only way I'll eat them now.
Okay, so they got to be super hot.
Super hot, and dip them in kind of soft serve ice cream, or in like a shake or a frosty.
That sounds like something a 3-year-old would do, Larry. You know what? You may have come up with a new Blizzard idea for Dairy Queen. A little French fry Blizzard. I think that would sound really good. So, Larry, you get a copy of the French Fry Companion. Dave, what are some of the other really wild ones that you've heard?
Well, people will come up with all kinds of toppings, your variations of pepper and salsa. I think with the all-American taste buds now craving hot food, people, as one of the callers said, people are really doctoring up the French fries to make them super hot and spicy.
See, but I'm just the opposite. I like mine very plain. I mean, I don't even eat them with ketchup. I just eat them plain.
You eat, I see. Do you prefer the straight kind or the crinkly kind?
No, straight. Very straight and thin.
All right.
Thinner the better.
Shaken, not stirred.
Nope.
Okay.
Doris. Hi, Doris.
Hi.
Doris, we're going to give you a copy if you tell us about your unusual way of making or eating French fries.
Well, I don't know that it's an unusual way, but it's a trucker's way, and you eat wet fries with gravy.
Oh, fries with gravy. Yeah, Dave mentions that in his book.
Mm-hmm.
And you call that wet? Is that right?
Yeah.
There?
Yeah, that's the trucker's way, where you can eat it with one hand, right on the sandwich.
Does it make any difference if it's brown gravy or the white gravy? Just wet fries.
That sounds good.
Good. Thanks, Doris, for calling WHO Radio. And now let's get to Dick. Hi, Dick.
Hi.
How do you eat French fries?
I eat them myself, of course, but I have two macaws that love French fries. They'll stand on the perch and hold the French fry with the other hand and just eat it up like crazy.
You're talking about the bird? These bird things?
Right. Well, one's a mini macaw and one is a conure, and they just love them. I come back from McDonald's and hand them a French fry, and they go crazy.
You know, McDonald's may want to use that in an ad.
They're cute as the dickens when they do it.
Isn't that something?
And I just keep giving them to them. They'll keep eating them. I don't give them too many, but sometimes they'll just eat the center out of them, or they'll eat the whole thing.
Do they like ketchup also, or just the plain fry?
They'll eat anything on them. You have to watch some things that you feed these birds, but most anything they will eat.
Are they picky about the brand, like if you go to Burger King?
No, I mostly go to McDonald's.
Okay, well, thanks, Dick. That's a great story. We are going to take more calls, even though we've given away the books. Dave, they've come up with different styles of French fries. They've got the curly Q's, the skin on, but I think you said that some of them have been successful and others have not. Is that true?
Well, that's right. For example, the fast food restaurants of America tried the skin on, which is popular in steakhouses, but it turns out that fast food customers are uncomfortable with the skin on fries. They feel that somehow it's unhygienic, and that's why they go with sort of the pure nude French fry with no
you're
skin
saying
on.
they don't like the look of it. It almost looks dirty.
Yes, unfortunately, that's the perception, and ironically, when people go to a steakhouse, they actually prefer the skin on. It seems like a hearty companion to that big porterhouse steak.
Yeah, I like them on, but I can see what you're saying, that when you see the little specks on there, it almost makes it look dirty.
Exactly.
Bob, you're up next. Bob, how do you eat French fries?
Well, I'll tell you what we do is we soak them first in water for about an hour and a half to get out some of the starch.
Wow.
And then what we do is we'll go ahead and put them in the deep fry, and we just lightly fry them. I mean, I think of it like blanching.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we lift it back out, and we use a combination of salt, white pepper, and garlic powder, and we roll them in that. Basically, we put a large coating on it and drop it back into the deep fryer, and that's one heck of an appetizer.
That takes a lot of work, though.
It's a little bit of time, but it's a very tasty treat.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, Bob. Yep. And, Dave, you mentioned in the book double frying is really the way to make a great French fry.
Well, that's right. In fact, it goes back to what's called the Chicago School, which originated with the Chicago hot dog vendors who would double cook their hot dogs. And it is a marvelous way, if you want to put a little more effort and ambition, it's a marvelous way to get a super French fry. You won't be able to get rid of your guests.
So if people want to make them at home and they cut a potato up, they need to fry it once lightly, take it out, let it sit for a few minutes, and then fry it again.
That's right. It's super crunchy and very, very delicious.
Are the white russets the best potato to use?
It's personal preference. I'm fond of the small red potatoes and the small white ones. It's a little sweeter and creamier to my taste, but the russets are fine.
I think you say in the book that Jackie Kennedy's cook used to make the small red potato French fries, and that the Kennedys loved it. You know, John and Carolyn just loved these small red potatoes. You've even got, I think, the recipe or tell about it in the book, right?
Yeah, the recipe is in there, and I tried it at home, and it really is quite good.
Neil, you're up next on WHO. Hi, Neil.
Hi, how are you?
Tell us about your French fries.
Well, when he mentioned McDonald's, or when you guys mentioned McDonald's, I remember I used to break open the hot apple pies, stick the French fries inside there, and then eat them.
Oh, yeah.
It was delicious. Do I get a book for that?
I haven't got any left for you, but boy, I sure wish I did, because that's unique. I have not heard that before.
That's what I used to do when I was small. I haven't done it for a long time.
Thanks, Neil.
But it was really good.
Dave, you mentioned in the book that some people actually put them on bread. I think you mentioned like Vincent Price, the old movie star. He would go to a restaurant and order that they put 6 or 7 fries on his hamburger, like on top of the hamburger.
Well, that's right. If any of your listeners are from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, they might be familiar with that. There's a place called Primanti's where the whole sandwich is one great tower with the French fries right on top of the meat. And the legend is the truckers like it because they can just eat it all with one hand.
Bill, you're up next with our guest Dave Groulich, the French fry companion guy. Hi, Bill.
Hi. Mine's maybe a little bit of a different twist, but instead of slicing ours long ways, we slice them, diagonally or across the potato, make it like a chip, like a little bit thicker, and then I'll take bean dip and like an American cheese and melt those two together, mix a little bit of water with it, so it's a little thinner, and I guess we have different variations, but we'll either pour it over a plate of them, or we'll even dip it.
So yours is almost like a chip.
Yeah, but it's like a French fry, though. I mean, it's I don't want to say chewy, but it's like the potato part of it. And although we have sliced them sometimes too thin, and it is just like a chip.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for sharing that, Bill.
You bet.
Dave, to finish up with you here, you talk in the book about the social influence of French fries. Now, come on, Dave. Isn't that giving French fries a little bit too much importance?
Well, it turns out, particularly as we're exporting them. And if you look at Asian countries now, one of the first things when a middle class emerges in a developing country, one of the first products that middle class consumes, believe it or not, are French fries.
So to tell whether society is doing well in terms of economics, you watch their French fry consumption.
There are actually economists who will seriously track the French fry index, and that's
French
an
fry
indicator.
index.
The French fry index, and as an indicator of an economy's health.
That's great. Thanks for being with us, Dave Groulich, the author of the French Fry Companion, also the Hot Dog and Hamburger Companions.